If you are a modern man who has essentially done everything right on paper, you've gotten the career, you've got a good income, a nice apartment, nice place, you've done all these things, but you find yourself stuck in these start stop cycles, especially when it comes to the things that matter most to you. And this could be a fitness goal you want to achieve, it could be a personal project that you're trying to get off the ground, it could even be a business, or it could even be your finances where you're trying to gain money to get into property. Then this video is for you, because what I've noticed with working with modern men over the last 2 years is that you start with total conviction and you think that this is the moment, this is the time I'm going to achieve this project, but somewhere along the way, maybe month 2, month 3, month 4, it falls apart. And something I always hear off clients is, I fall off the bandwagon. Whatever you do, it does not seem to stick long term. And so in this video, I'm going to show you why capable men can start anything but struggle to really follow through and finish the thing, especially, and I mean the things that matter most to them. Why this has nothing to do with discipline and what's actually missing in their psyche, what's going on inside their mind. Before we get into the meat of the video, guys, this is based off my book, Unbound, A Man's Guide to Breaking Destructive Patterns, Reclaiming His Inner Authority, and Living Life on His Own Terms, which you can download underneath this video. The link is below. The start stop pattern, the pattern itself, and this is something I know because I lived this in my copywriting business before I started working with men about 2 years ago. I had a copywriting business and I went through mentors like gym memberships. I'd find someone I admire, I'd buy the course, join the program, get on the calls, and for months I would be involved and being there. But then something would happen, something would shift. I'd notice a flaw. The mentor would say something, a part of his character would pop up that I personally didn't like, and some small thing that was just a human flaw would turn into something monumental in my head. And once I saw the flaw, I could not unsee it. I'd quietly lose interest, stop showing up, and lose trust and faith in this person. And ultimately, I would fall out with them, not in person, but in my head. I would fall out with the person in my head. I convinced myself that every single time that these mentors were playing a false game, that they were presenting themselves as one thing and being another. And because I had gone off and done a few ayahuasca ceremonies without any real grounding in depth psychology and the effects that has on the human psyche, I developed this like enlightened attitude towards life where I could see through everybody's shit, that I had this higher level of consciousness. And looking back, it's almost funny, but the reality was simpler and a lot less flattering. Because I had never individuated from the mother complex due to the absence of a father at the critical age of like 11, 12, 13 onwards, I had developed and gone into adult with what's called a pure attitude, the pure aeternus, the eternal boy who keeps his options open and never really lands anywhere. Paired with the fact with what I call a very underdeveloped father complex, I had no sense of inner authority of my own. The part of my psyche that is supposed to hold the line, stay in that place, take you out of adolescence behavior it wasn't there. And of course, I told myself I had good judgment. I came up with all these excuses or these of why I was moving on from mentor to mentor. But in reality, it was just avoidance of the hardship and the long-term commitment it takes to follow through on something. And it wasn't until I started working with a Jungian analyst and I started being introduced to my own father complex and how that was being projected, or how the lack of was being projected out into my external world, that I started to realize what was happening. And it had nothing to do with discipline. It had nothing to do with making better choices. It had nothing to do with judgment, my own judgment. It had nothing to do with even the mentors. It had got to do with the two things that was happening, which I'm going to break down now. The first part, the father complex, my own missing inner authority. In every man's psyche, there is two foundational complexes which build up him. You have the mother complex and you have the father complex, and then underneath that his I emerges, the self, the part of him that knows what he wants, knows where he's going, is able to follow through on that direction. The father is supposed to take the young boy out of the mother's comfort and obviously help him become his own individual. Through that, there is an internal stamp left on your psyche that's supposed to happen from the ages of 11 up to 18 to 20. That internal stamp is your internal father. It's not necessarily your dad, it's just the representation of what that means. Those characteristics, those behaviors, that attitude towards life. When the father complex is built correctly into the man's psyche, you don't have to force yourself, and the work isn't a battle. This doesn't mean it's hard. You're able to discern from the impulse, which is a very adolescent attitude towards life, and choose the work that towards building something that's meaningful over the impulse itself. It's what lets you commit to something you chose that you want and keep showing up for it. But for a lot of modern men I work with, the backing from the father was barely even there, or it was maybe tyrannical, but it wasn't in a quote unquote healthy fashion. In that crucial age, nobody stood behind them and said, look, you want to go after this thing, I'm here, you have to go do the work, but I'm here to support you, I encourage you to go after it. And because of that encouragement never really happened, internally something specific happens. Not only is there no psychological structure, not only is the father complex, that internal stamp of the father is not there, on some level the man does not believe in his ability to go and achieve the thing. He can want it, he can plan it and start it with excitement, tell all his friends about it, but underneath there's no internal sense of I'm a man who can achieve this. And so when something happens like an injury or a bill that comes out of nowhere, or maybe there's a conflict within a relationship, whether that be with a woman or a friend or even a mentor, he regresses back into the mother's world. He regresses back into the comfort of the mother complex. Now the second part of this is becoming your own man. The start-stop cycle is doing its job. It's keeping the modern man from something, because as long as he never finishes something that he genuinely wants and started, he never has to reclaim his own authority. He never has to individuate from the parental complexes, which means he just separates from them and goes after the things he genuinely wants in life. Seeing something through to the end would change that completely. It would separate him from there. It would mean choosing his own authority and standing behind that decision, even if his parents don't like it, even if his friends don't like it, even if people don't believe he can do it. But the start-stop cycle protects him from that, because to become your own man is to step out of the orbit you've lived in your entire life. It is to stop being the son operating inside the psychological structures that you never chose in the first place, and start being the author of your own life. And that's no small shift. That is a central one. We used to have that within society, within tribal communities. There was a moment in a man's life where he did not even go into adolescence. He literally went from boy to man. He was given responsibility and he was encouraged to go on his own journey. So everything in the modern man's psyche, still bonded to these old structures, these parental complexes, will resist the idea of following through and completing the task. Because the start-stop cycle, for all its misery, is far more familiar than the unknown of actually being himself, from actually truly going after reclaiming his own authority and truly living life on his own terms, and going after the things he genuinely wants in life, the life he genuinely wants to build. So what changes this? Reshaping the father complex, building your own internal father and developing what I call inner authority, and truly living life on your own terms. The first part of this is seeing. Find something that matters to you. Maybe it's an old hobby that you wanted to do before. Maybe it is a business goal. Maybe it is a personal project. Maybe it's even a fitness goal. It has to be something that you truly want, and then do it for at least 30 days. And your aim here is to just listen to the voice, listen to the exact language you use when you're trying to continue, especially when motivation dies. Depending on your situation as well, tell your parents about it, but you're telling your parents just to observe and listen. What is their attitude towards it? And write it all down as you're going through this over the 30 days. When that voice comes up, or when your motivation starts to die, or when something happens when it slightly derails you, is there genuine authority there? Do you respect the internal dialogue, the internal father within you to follow through on what it says? And of course, the last part of this is to genuinely follow through, even if it means some days you only have 40% in the tank, but you give 100% of that 40%. It does not matter what you do, the quality you do it. It's just a matter of getting it done. Because seeing something true that's truly important to you, that's meaningful to you, would mean choosing your own authority and standing behind it. And that act, more than anything else, is how you begin to individuate or separate from the parental complexes that are running inside your psyche.